ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं श्रीसागरजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च ये कृष्णकरुणासिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त श्रीराधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवि प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय श्री श्री राधा गिरधारी भगवान की जय। So I am assuming that you all had a chance to read through the foreword. Did you all read through it? Because last time, because you hadn't read through it, we went through each paragraph. So do you want to go through each paragraph, or do you just want the summary of each paragraph? Just a summary? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So when we look at, so we did up to paragraph number 3, correct? Yeah. So we need to start with paragraph number 4. Just opening it up. So in the first couple of paragraphs, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he establishes that Brahma Samhita is a work that's going to help us understand that the absolute truth is Krishna. And he then tells us how there may be some people who are very resistant to that idea, the idea that the supreme absolute truth is a person and that person is Krishna. In paragraph 4, so the first purpose of the Brahma Samhita has been stated as the fact that Brahma Samhita will help confused people. It'll help them understand that the absolute truth is Shri Krishna. In the 4th paragraph, he tells us, so that's the one that starts with the subsequent lines will go to determine the different aspects of the absolute. So in this paragraph, he goes on to say that, so in the first 3 paragraphs, he's talked about only the first verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Now, in this, he's saying that the subsequent lines, which means the following text, subsequent texts, subsequent verses, will determine that Lord Shri Krishna is all attractive and that he's got various attractive aspects and that he's got various qualities which indicate that he is Sat Chit Ananda, which indicate that he is uninterrupted, unending, transcendental felicity. Felicity means happiness. So he is uninterrupted, unending, transcendental happiness. So he is the source and he is himself such intense happiness, bliss. And then he goes on to say that Krishna is the source of everything that is material and spiritual. So when we say the source of two components which go by the names of efficient and material causes, we can translate efficient for our purposes as spiritual. Basically, efficient means, in philosophy, it actually means a cause that, a force that causes the existence, change, and stability of something. So, for instance, the Upanishads give us an example of the potter. So when you have a potter who, if you have seen a potter who uses a wheel, what does he do? He puts a lump of clay in it. He makes the wheel go really fast with a stick. And then there's some water. He wets his hand. He puts his hand on the clay and he shapes it. And there is a pot. And then he puts it in the kiln where it's burned, dried, and your pot is ready. Now here, the mud, the wheel, all of it is material causes. Whereas the potter himself, if all that is there, but the potter is not there, this creation can never happen. So the potter becomes the efficient cause. So the same way, the efficient cause in creation is Lord Shri Krishna. And he in turn causes the material causes as well and creates everything. So that's what is being explained out here. And then it goes, so for, like I said, for practical purposes, Krishna is the source of spiritual and material. Okay. And he contains all material and spiritual rasas. Now we'll just spend a little time understanding what is a rasa, because this is something we talk about quite a lot when it comes to Krishna consciousness. So there are 5 main rasas, and you know those. The first one is
Shanta.
Shanta. Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya,
Vatsalya.
Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Yeah. So these are your 5. So we know these 5. These 5 are called the 5 Mukhya rasas, or the main rasas. Then there are 7 Gauna rasas, or subordinate rasas. These are explained by Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So the 7 subordinate ones. Now, when we talk about rasa, we have to remember one thing, that these rasas are all expressed by devotees of the Lord in relation to bhakti. Okay, so it's always in relation to Krishna, and it is always expressed in a positive way, in a way that it contributes to bhakti. So for instance, the first one is hasya. Hasya means laughter. Now, I can also poke fun at you and laugh at you, but we are not talking about that laughter. This is the laughter of, for instance, I don't know if you've seen this picture. Are you able to see this picture? Can you see the picture? Yeah. So in this picture, you actually have Lord Krishna sitting in the middle with his eyes closed. And you have this cowherd boy here on the side who's putting a white flower into Krishna's mouth. Whereas this little boy here is actually eating a white laddu. Okay, so the story goes that one of the cowherd boys tells Krishna, Krishna, close your eyes and I'm going to put some really nice yogurt and sweet yogurt laddu into your mouth. So Krishna goes, ah, and he puts a flower into his mouth and all the others, look at them, giggling away. So here, they are not ridiculing him. They're just laughing. It's just fun. Yeah. So this is called hasya. Or when, there's another story that Krishna and his friends go to steal butter. Now this gopi is lying there pretending to sleep. But she's actually been waiting for Krishna to come. Her whole idea is, I am going to catch these boys today. I am going to punish them. So she is lying there with her eyes closed, pretending to sleep. And when they come in and they start whispering and they go, oh my God, she's here. Oh, what should we do? Oh, maybe we can go this way. So all they're planning, she can hear everything. And she's sitting there, lying there with a big smile on her face. Okay, again, laughter, hasya. So this is one of the secondary rasas. The secondary rasas go with a primary rasa. So in the case of the gopis, it is Vatsalya plus Hasya. In the case of the boys, it is Sakhya plus Hasya. Your second Gauna rasa is Adbhuta. Adbhuta means astonishment. So astonishment is expressed by Balramji when he discovered in the Brahma Vimohana Leela that after a whole year he discovers that all the boys, all the cows, all the calves, everything is Krishna. So he's astounded, he's astonished. So that is Adbhuta Rasa. And you have Narada Rishi when he visits Krishna in Dwaraka and he sees Krishna in each and every palace. And in each and every palace, he's doing something different. He's enjoying life as a householder in each and every palace. And he is astonished. So that again is Adbhuta. Then the third rasa is Veera or heroism. This heroism is exhibited to please Krishna. For instance, the boys, when they are playing with each other, say, I am stronger. Look at me. I am so strong. What, Krishna? You think I cannot defeat Balaram? I can defeat him. Why are you telling him to go fight with Balaram? I will go. This is Veera Rasa. Or in the case of Yudhishthir Maharaj, during the Rajasuya Yajna, he wanted to give everything to Krishna. He said, take my palace, take my riches, take everything I have, just take everything. I love you so much, Krishna, take everything. So this is also called Veera. This is called Dana Veera. The earlier one fighting is Yuddha Veera. This is Dana Veera. Bali Maharaj, the biggest example of Dana Veera. Then we have Daya Veera, showing mercy, which is very similar to Dana and Dharma Veera. So Dharma Veera, again, Yudhishthir Maharaj, one who he performed so many different sacrifices, all to please Krishna. So this is how heroism is exhibited, Veerata, Veera. The next guna is Karuna. Karuna means compassion. Now, compassion for whom? Compassion for Krishna, compassion for his devotees. So, for instance, when Krishna was fighting with Kaliya, all of Raja is standing over there and fainting. They are in so much anxiety for Krishna. Huh? That Karuna, compassion. Oh my God, my Krishna, what is going to happen to him? He's gone under the water. Oh God, Kaliya has him in his coils. How is Krishna going to escape? What will I do? How can I help him? Karuna, how can I help him? In the Gopi Gita, what happens? The gopis sing that when what? Atati yad bhavan ahni kananam. Whenever you are wandering around in the forest, the thorns of the forest, they prick your feet, your lotus feet, which are so soft and tender. So this is Karuna. Then there is Raudra. Raudra means anger, kopa. So how does Raudra express itself? So an example is given of Rohini Mata getting very angry with Yashoda for tying up Krishna when the Yamala-Arjuna trees fall. So when the trees fall, Rohini goes there and she says, you think you're very smart, huh? You think you're very clever, binding up your son like that. Do you even realize what trouble you have put him into? What danger you have put him into? 2 huge trees have fallen. They are almost fallen on him. And she's scolding Mother Yashoda. So this is Raudra. She's angry with Mother Yashoda. And similarly, in the Mahabharata, you have during the Rajasuya Yagya, Shishupal, he starts spouting his nonsense against Lord Krishna. And out of the Pandavas, Sahadeva stands up. Nakula and Sahadeva, Sahadeva stands up. And he says, anybody who says anything like this, I will kick them to death with my feet. And I will shower arrows. My arrows are equal to the danda of Yamaraj. He is so angry. So this is using anger in the service of the Lord. Then you have Bhayanaka. Bhayanaka means feeling of dread. Oh my God. What did I do? For instance, Jambavan, when he was fighting against Krishna, they fought. And at the end of, how many days was it? 24 days, wasn't it? Huh? At the end of those 24 days, I think, I forget, or 21 days. At the end of those 21 days, I think, Jambavan realizes that he has been fighting with his worshipable Lord. And when he realizes that, Krishna looks at him and says, what happened? What's wrong with you? Why is your face so ashen? Kya ho gaya? Suddenly you stop fighting, you're looking so scared. What happened? Just don't worry. All right. Yeah. So that feeling which Jambavan got is Bhayanaka. Kaliya, after fighting all that and trying to drag Krishna in and trying to bite him and everything, when he's finally defeated, what does he do? He begs for mercy. He says, I am so sorry. I didn't know who you were. Feeling of dread. Then the last Gauna rasa is bhibhatsa, which means disgust. Disgust. How can one use disgust in the service of the Lord? So, for instance, Krishna himself feels disgust when he is killing the asuras. For instance, when he killed Kamsa, he was truly angry. So someone who had imprisoned his parents, who had caused so much destruction and pain to so many devotees. So Krishna, when he kills him, he does not kill him with a smile. He drags him down, pushes him down, and pummels him to death. When he kills Keshi. So all this is disgust. Or in the Bhagavatam, you know the Jantu prayers? The prayers of the embryo in the womb. In the prayers, that very fortunate embryo is praying. It says, "My Lord, I am so sorry. I am actually trapped in this horrible place, this bag which is filled with all kinds of abominable things. I'm being bitten by all kinds of worms and insects and so on. I promise, my Lord, I will never do anything which will cause me to come back into the situation." That embryo is showing so much disgust at what he has done in the past, which has caused him to be in such a disgustful place in the present. So this is bhibhatsa, bhibhatsa rasa. So when Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is talking about Krishna being the source of all the rasas. He is the source of all the material and spiritual rasas. So here we talked about these rasas in relation to service of Krishna. But in our day-to-day life as well, we feel all these rasas. And we feel more as well. Bharatnatyam. Bharata Muni has, he has how many? I think 9, isn't it? Yeah, he has 9 Gauna rasas. So we express these sentiments in our day-to-day life. So these are materially expressed. These are for material reasons. Krishna is the cause of both the spiritual rasas as well as material rasas. And then he goes on to say in the next paragraph, he says that the Brahma Samhita explains the origin of, again, phenomenal and noumenic conceptions. Remember, we said phenomenal means anything to do with senses, so material, and noumenic means transcendental. So the origin of anything that is material and anything that is spiritual. So Krishna is the source of all material and spiritual worlds. And he says that the verses cover everything in respect to the manifestation of material and spiritual worlds. So any aspect related to matter and spirit is covered in the Brahma Samhita, right from how it is born, how it is maintained, and so on. In the next verse, so that kind of is the third purpose of the Brahma Samhita. So the first purpose of the Brahma Samhita was that it helps confused people know that Krishna is the supreme person, absolute truth from the first verse. The second purpose was given in the next paragraph, which said that all the further statements, further verses, verse number 2 onwards of the Brahma Samhita, tell us that all the different attractive aspects all come from the supreme attractive person, Krishna. And the third one says that he is the third purpose or the third theme of the Brahma Samhita is that it explains the origin of material and spiritual worlds. In the next in the same paragraph, you have another purpose. So it says the Brahma Samhita also deals with where it talks about, have also dealt with different partial aspects and different schools. So it deals with how some ordinary people are selected to be God. So if you go to India, there are lots of so-called gods floating around. Yeah. So on what basis? So the Brahma Samhita actually gives us a reason or the criteria to figure out whether somebody really is God. So if somebody is God, they should meet all the criteria that have been laid out in the Brahma Samhita. Then in the next paragraph, a very close attention and a comparative study of all prevailing thoughts and conceptions. So here he says that the Brahma Samhita is not aimed only at a theist. It is aimed at everyone. So whose doubts will it clarify? It will clarify everybody's doubts. Whether he's a materialist, an atheist, an agnostic, a skeptic, a naturalist, a pantheist, or a panentheist. Do you remember these terms? We did them when we talked about the presentation of God exists. Yeah. So if you like, I'll share those. Just give me a minute. So the different worldviews, we talked about them. So the first one was atheism. Atheism is, I know for a fact that there is no God. Agnosticism, which is, I don't know. Maybe there's a God, maybe there's no God. I have no idea. Deism, God exists, but he doesn't care about us. He's just there. Pantheism, there are many gods. Everything is a god. The tree is a god, the bird is a god, the insect is a god, the fly is a god. You are God, I am God. Panentheism is God is in that tree, God is in you, God is in me, but that doesn't make you God, that doesn't make me God, that doesn't make the tree God. And then theism God is there, he's not silent. And coming back to our Brahma Samhita, materialist, which means atheist, or someone who's just interested in getting something for themselves. And then you have a downright atheist. He's the person who says, I know God does not exist. Agnostic, I don't know. Skeptic, maybe. Naturalist, oh, Mother Nature is everything, which is pantheism. You know, the tree is God, the bird is God, the sky is God. Also a pantheist or a panentheist. Panentheist, God is in you, God is in me. So all of these, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, the Brahma Samhita will actually, he uses the word relieve and enlighten. It'll relieve and enlighten everybody, all of them. The knowledge in the Brahma Samhita will help everybody. Then in the next, so I'll just stop sharing. Then in the next paragraph, so this is paragraph number 7. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, the next 5 paragraphs, they basically glorify the Brahma Samhita and how the Brahma Samhita was acquired by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and how it presents the absolute truth authoritatively. So this bit we had already covered last time, that, you know, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu picked up the book at the Adi Keshava temple and that he was so happy to see it. It also says that it comes under the category of Pancharatra scriptures because it has the same idea as the Bhagavatam. The next paragraph says that the Brahma Samhita and the Bhagavatam should be considered as being identical to Krishna. So we already know that the Bhagavatam is considered to be identical to Lord Sri Krishna. The first 2 cantos are his 2 feet and so on and so forth. So the same way, the Brahma Samhita is also a form of Lord Sri Krishna himself. Then in the next paragraph, he says that all descriptions that have been given in this book are absolutely correct. There are no mistakes. Aspersions of calumniation. Calumniation basically means lies, telling lies. So aspersions of calumniation are restricted in the limited world, whereas in the transcendence, there are no discrepancies. So everything that is said in this book are absolutely correct. And then in the next paragraph, he says, how Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how this book, it follows the previous acharyas. It's not just stories. It's based on the purports of Jiva Goswami, which were used by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and now Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has placed his commentaries on the basis of those. So you have, basically you have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who taught Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, who in turn taught Jiva Goswami. And Jiva Goswami's commentary has been used by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, And Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary has been used by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which is the one that we are reading. So in a sense, it comes directly from Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then it also goes on to say that this text presents pure love of God. It presents bhakti and it presents prema bhakti, the pure love of God. And it says that materialists may say that such descriptions are imaginary stories and that they will not stand the test of logic or reasoning. But when we go through this book, we will realize that there is nothing here which is allegorical. Allegorical means, so when you have stories where you, for instance, the story of, which is the story in the Bhagavatam, where the body and the king.
Oh, king.
And his, his body and the wife and. So in Bhagavatam as well, there are many stories which can be taken, but this particular, just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. I'll tell you the name of the story.
Puranjana.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Puranjana.
I was thinking.
Thank you, Mom. Yes, Puranjana. That's the one.
Jaya.
Oh, thanks, Jaya. Yeah. So the story of Puranjana. The story of Puranjana is a purely allegorical story. So allegorical story basically means that it is not real, but it is said, it's said using the names of people and characters to convey that message. So for instance, in the Puranjana story, it talks about how there were two friends and, so it talks about, for instance, I'll just tell you a small bit out of it, that this particular king called Puranjana, and what is his friend's name? Avigyata. Avigyata means, so Puranjana, the name Puranjana basically means born again. So one who will be born again and again, and which means the Atma. And his friend is who? Avigyata, ignorance. Okay. They both lived in a city called Navadwarapuri. What does Navadwarapuri mean? 9 door city. The city of 9 gates, which is the body. Where does the soul live? In the body. So the whole story of Puranjana, we'll go through that at some other stage, but the whole story of Puranjana is allegorical. So what he's saying here is that the Brahma Samhita is not allegorical. Don't think that when we say that there is Krishna, that we're talking about some concept behind Krishna. No, we are talking about Krishna. Does that make sense? Okay. Then in the last paragraph, he says that this book has been published for English-speaking people who are interested in the subject of transcendental truth, and that the book originally found in India 4 centuries ago is now being presented again for the benefit of all the people of the same country, and he compares it to worshipping Ganga Ji by offering Ganga water. So how do we worship Ganga? When we stand in there, we take up some water and we offer it back to her. How do we worship the sun? We show a small lamp to the sun. Right? So how can we worship this vast, almost an ocean that is Ganga? By taking a small handful of water and offering it back to her. How do you worship that vast, brilliant sun? By offering a small lamp to him. So how do we worship the knowledge that is extant in this country, in India? By reading Brahma Samhita, which is a small, according to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it is a small offering by him towards the knowledge of bhakti. Okay. So any questions in the foreword? So what we'll do today is we'll read the first verse, okay? And I'll just give you a little background, but we'll go into details next week. So if you would like to repeat after me, and this is where, remember we also talked about working on our pronunciation.
Mm.
So we are going to make sure that we pronounce these verses absolutely correctly. And we're going to carry forward the learning to all our shlokas, whether it's in the Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. Okay. So here, one thing we have to remember is how to pronounce the shs, the sibilants. So the SA, simple SA is S. S. Okay. S with the thingy on top, with a little hook on top, is sh. Sh. So how do we say that? We say it with a little smile. When we say it with a little smile, it comes out perfectly. Sh. Okay. Sh. Now the S with the dot underneath is sh. It's a very thick. Okay. What is happening here? Because there is a dot underneath. You know how the T with the dot underneath, the tongue goes up. It is pronounced t, 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 t. The same place is where your tongue should go for sh, 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 sh. Okay. So that is the first point. So you have sh with a smile, Ishvara, yeah, and Krishna. Krishna. So do you see? You have in Krishna, the R has a dot underneath, S has a dot underneath, N has a dot underneath. All three of the syllables, the tongue is up. Okay, so it's not Krishna. No, that is not his name. Huh? It's Krishna. Krishna. If you get that sound without holding your nose, you're right. Okay, Krishna. Okay, so that is first. Then when we have the sound, the H with the dot underneath. The H with the dot underneath is a puff of air. Okay, it's a If you actually chant the alphabets of the Sanskrit language correctly, do it 5 times every day, you'll find that your stress is absolutely released. Honestly, it's scientific. Why? Because all the words come out from various parts of your tongue. There is a lot of acupressure that's happening on your tongue, in your mouth. Okay. And there is a lot of breath control that's also happening. For instance, let's look at H. Okay. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Okay. So when the is at the end, it's pronounced more fully. Krishna. When it's inside, it's pronounced with more of a puff of air. So it's Ishvara Parama Krishna. It's not Ishvara Parama Krishna. No, it is not Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha. You've lost your meter completely. So it's Ishvara Parama Krishnaha Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindah. Now, important. Whenever you see a consonant, okay, what is a consonant? Give me a consonant, any consonant.
A, vowels?
No, those are vowels. I want a consonant, not
C. B.
So how do you
C,
pronounce it?
E.
How do you no pronounce
Oh.
in Sanskrit? I don't want A, B, C, D, E. Those are English consonants. We're talking Sanskrit, right? So so okay. So
Ch.
if
Ch.
so if you have ch, okay, let's say ch. Okay. Ch. Ch is made up of the ch and the sound. Correct? Ch and the sound. Chi is made up of ch and the e sound. Now, when you look at these words, anadir, at the end, what is it? It's the r sound, but it's actually not r because the a is not there. It's r. If you add the a sound, it becomes r. If you add the e sound, it becomes re. But here, what do we have? Anadir. Next to it, you have a. So when you have a vowel, so what are your vowels in Sanskrit? Who can tell me?
E.
Correct. Go on. So it's a, remember? Now, short, long. The long is twice as long as the short. Rule. A, I, u, e, I, o, ow. Okay. So when you have the long, they have to be long. So when you look at this word anadir, what do you see? A is short. Na is long. Na dir. Right? Na dir. And immediately after the il, you have a na di ra. Okay. So what happens? The consonant that is hanging out here without a vowel has to get attached to the vowel next to it. Okay. So for all practical purposes, what you can actually do is take the consonant from here and actually attach it to the next word. So this word becomes anadi, the next one becomes radir. Okay. Except there is no break. If you break it, then it's a wrong word altogether. Okay. There's no word like radir. Okay. So, Anadiradir Govinda. Nadiradir Govinda. Sarva Karana Karanam. So it does not work when you have a vowel and a consonant. It only works when you have a consonant and a vowel. So sarva, karana, karanam. They all end in vowels and the following word starts in a consonant. So there is no attachment out here. All the sentimental attachment happens only when it is a consonant which is hanging and feeling very sorry for itself. And then a vowel comes along and it attaches itself to it. Okay? Okay. So given this background, okay, let's try and pronounce this verse. So, Ishvara, and again, E, okay? Long E. Ishvara Parama Krishnaha.
Ishvara.
Ishvara Paramah Krishna
Satchidananda Vigraha. So here Satchidananda, you see Sat, you know, there's no Sachana. There's Sat. And then there is a Chid. So Satchid. So it's a ch. Okay, it's a double ch. Satchid. And again, the and a. So da. Satchidananda Vigraha.
Satchitananda Vigraha
Vigraha.
Vigraha
Anadiradir Govinda.
Anadiradir
Adiradir
Sarva Karana Karanam. Yeah. So the at the end gets pronounced Krishna. Vigraha. Vigraha. Okay. Govinda. Karanam. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just stop here for today. I don't want to overdo it. I do want to have a class tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm like, just can't be bothered anymore. Just crawl into bed and go to sleep. So yeah. So tomorrow, Aditya Prabhu, you are doing, right? Which verse?
I think it's 12.
You are muted.
Mataji, 12 onwards, I think 4 verses.
Okay.
12, 13, 14, 15, I think.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. So we'll catch up tomorrow with Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
It's been a while. So yeah. So any questions or comments? Anything? Bahu dhanyawadaha.
Thank
Thank you so very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. And look after yourself, Mataji.
Yeah, have a good rest, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rest.
Thank you. I've been doing nothing but sleeping and eating. That's all I do. I wake up, I can't wake up. So I wake up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And then I sleep again at 12 o'clock. I have my lunch, I go back to sleep. And then again I wake up.
You following Kumkaran, Kumkaran style.
I know. Kumbhukaran Parivar.
Your body is working to get.
Yeah, that's why I can give a class, Mataji. Now I better go and sleep.
I know.
Mataji, your body demanding rest. You need that
Yeah.
rest.
Yeah.